Hello, I'm Dr. Bhargavi, and I'll be explaining primary and secondary metabolites from the chapter Biomolecule. Let's start with how you analyze the chemical composition of a living tissue. You take the living tissue, be it a vegetable piece or a liver or even a leaf, you grind it with trichloroacetate in a mortar and a pestle. You obtain a thick slurry which you're going to strain it through a cheesecloth. Now you get two parts of it. The first part is called as the filtrate or the acid soluble pool which comes out of the cheesecloth, and the second one which is left behind is going to be called as the retentate of the acid insoluble fraction. Now scientists have found a lot of organic and inorganic compounds in the acid soluble pool. All the carbon compounds that we get from the living tissue is going to be called as biomolecule. However, living tissue also contains inorganic elements and compounds. Now, how do you get the inorganic elements and compounds? So, one weighs a small amount of living tissue, and that's going to be called as the wet weight. After you weigh it, you're going to dry it so that all the water evaporates. Now, the tissue is fully burnt. All the carbon compounds are oxidized to gaseous form. What is left behind is called as an ash, and that's going to contain inorganic elements such as calcium, magnesium, etc. Now, if you go and analyze this ash and if you go and analyze each and every element, you will find hydrogen, oxygen, chlorine, and carbon. Whereas if you analyze for compounds, you're going to get organic and inorganic compounds. Now, from a chemistry point of view, these organic, inorganic compounds can be classified as aldehydes, ketones, aromatic compounds, esters, etc. But from the biological point of view, we can classify them into amino acids, fatty acids, nucleotide bases. Let's start with the first organic compound, which is the amino acid. Now, amino acid contains an aminic group as well as an acidic group to the same carbon atom here, which is going to be called as the alpha carbon atom. Along with this, it's going to be having four valency position, one occupied by the amino group, one occupied by the carboxyl group, one occupied by the hydrogen, and the other R functional group could be anything. Now, based on the R, there are various types of amino acid. So, if the R is hydrogen, it's going to be called as glycine. If the R is a methyl group, it's going to be called as aniline. And if the R is an hydroxymethyl group, it's going to be called as a serine. Now, the chemical and physical property of the amino acid depends upon all of these three groups, that is the amino group, carboxyl group, and the R functional group. Now, there are a number of amino acids, so we can classify them into acidic, basic, as well as aromatic, etc. One important property of the amino acid is it is ionizable and it's going to be having different structures at different pH, and that's basically because of the amino group and the carboxyl group. So here is a flowchart of various different amino acids where there is different R functional groups. So at this, here the R functional group is hydrogen, here the R functional group is a methyl group, etc. So this is how there are various amino acids which we obtain. Coming to the second, which is the lipids. Now, lipids are generally water insoluble. They can be fatty acids or glycerol. Now, fatty acids has a carboxylic group attached to the R group. Now, R could be a methyl group, ethyl group, anything. Now, you take an example of a palmitic acid, which has 16 carbon, including a carboxylic group. Arachidonic acid has 20 carbon. Now, fatty acids could be saturated or unsaturated depending upon the presence or absence of double bond. Now, in this picture, we can see here this fatty acid does not have a double bond, and hence it's going to be called as saturated fatty acid. Whereas here we have a double bond, and hence this is going to be unsaturated fatty acid. Many lipids have both glycerol as well as fatty acids. Here, fatty acids are found to be esterified along with glycerol, so hence they're going to be called as monoglycerides, triglycerides, and etc. So these are basically fats. Now, how do you differentiate between fats and oil? Is basically we can say oil has a lower melting point and it is going to remain oil even in winter, and fats are nothing but these esterified glycerols. Okay, the next one is sometimes these lipids have phosphorus also, which is phosphorylated with them. Now they are going to be called as phospholipid. Example of these phospholipid is lecithin, which is found in the cell membrane. So you can see the structure over here, where here this is a lipid along with which phosphor is going to be phosphorylated, and hence it's going to be called as a phospholipid. Coming to the nucleotide bases, living organism has a number of carbon compounds in which hydroxyl groups, hydroxyl ring can be found. Some of these are nitrogen bases. Example is adenine, guanine, cytosine, uracil, thymine, etc. Now, if these nitrogen bases are found to be attached with sugar, it's going to be called as nucleosides. So, how do you remember them? We have nitrogen bases attached to sugar. S for sugar, so it's going to be called as nucleoside. Now, if phosphate group is attached, it's going to be called as nucleotide. Now, adenylate acid, thymidyllic acid, guanylic acid, all of these are nucleotides. Now, another example of nucleic acids are going to be DNA and RNA, which are also nucleotides, and they are the genetic material. Now, coming to primary and secondary metabolites, a very important aspect of chemistry is that we can isolate thousands of compounds and determine their structure. Now, if we make a list of all the biomolecules, we have thousands of organic compounds, out of which the main ones that we recently studied are amino acids, the fatty acids, as well as the nucleotide bases. So these are going to be called as metabolites. Now, these metabolites are usually found in all the living tissues, especially animal tissues have presence of all of these metabolites. So these are going to be called as primary metabolites. However, if you analyze plants and fungi, apart from these primary metabolites, they have certain other metabolites also. Example is alkaloids, flavonoids, rubbers, etc., pigments. Now we're going to name them as secondary metabolites. These secondary metabolites as such has no function, but they play a very important role in human welfare, whereas primary metabolites have a very important physiological function. Thank you.